You are playing a game that you do not understand. Every day, you step onto a vast and complex playing field of human interaction, and you are playing blind. You listen to the words people say and you take them at face value. You react to their surface-level actions. You are swayed by their charisma, and you are confused by their sudden changes in mood. You are a ship on a stormy sea, tossed about by the unpredictable waves of other people's emotions, motivations, and hidden agendas. And you are left feeling frustrated, manipulated, and perpetually one step behind. Why did you not get that promotion? Why did that deal fall through? Why does that person seem to dislike you for no reason? The 99% of people will go their entire lives without ever knowing the answers to these questions. They will live in a world of social fog, forever guessing at the true intentions of others, forever being a pawn in a game they don't even know they are playing. This audiobook is the moment you stop being a pawn. This is the moment you learn the rules of the game. The truth is, every person you meet is a book filled with a rich and detailed story, but most people can't read. They are illiterate in the language of human nature. They listen to the words on the page, but they cannot comprehend the subtext, the themes, the foreshadowing, and the true motivations of the characters. This audiobook will teach you to read. It will give you the source code to human behavior. It will hand you the blueprint for mastering human psychology, not as an academic exercise, but as a practical, real-world superpower. We will dismantle the myth that understanding people is a gift or a form of intuition. That is a lie. It is a skill. It is a system of observation, analysis, and interpretation that can be learned, practiced, and mastered. While most people are listening to what is being said, you will learn to see what is not being said. While they are focused on the carefully constructed performance, you will learn to see the subtle cracks in the mask. You will learn to decode the unspoken language of the body, to hear the music between the lines of their words, and to uncover the hidden engines of their core motivations. This is not about manipulation. This is about illumination. It is about bringing clarity to the fog. It is about protecting yourself from those who would deceive you and building deeper, more authentic connections with those who are genuine. It is about gaining an advantage in every negotiation, every relationship, and every interaction you will ever have. The life you want, the career, the relationships, the influence, is on the other side of understanding people. This is the master key that unlocks every other door. If you are ready to stop guessing and start knowing, if you are ready to move from being a character in other people's stories to being the author of your own, then your training begins now. To master this game, to truly understand the world around you, you need a guide. That is our mission here. Subscribe to this channel right now, and you will receive the consistent, powerful insights you need to become a master of human psychology. Don't be a spectator. Subscribe now and claim your power. And if you find value by the end of this video, please leave a meaningful comment to keep motivating us to make content like this. Chapter 1, the first text, Reading Yourself. Before you can ever hope to become a proficient reader of other people, You must first master the art of reading the most complex, deceptive, and important book you will ever encounter: yourself. This is the foundational principle that 99% of people completely ignore. They rush to learn the tips and tricks for decoding others, looking for a shortcut to social mastery, without ever having the courage to turn the analytical lens inward. They are like an illiterate person trying to become a literary critic. They are a walking, talking blind spot, and their inability to see themselves is the primary reason they so profoundly misinterpret the world around them. Your own mind is a constant storm of biases, insecurities, emotional triggers, and unexamined assumptions. This internal storm is the distorted filter through which you view every single human interaction. You do not see people as they are. You see them as you are. You project your own fears, your own desires, and your own past experiences onto them, and then you react to that projection as if it were the truth. A person who is deeply insecure about their own intelligence will interpret a challenging question from a colleague as a personal attack. A person who is fundamentally untrustworthy will be constantly suspicious of the motives of others. The first step to clarity is to understand your own fog. You must become a ruthless, objective, and compassionate student of your own psychology. This is not a comfortable process. It requires you to confront the parts of yourself that you have been avoiding. It requires you to question the very stories you tell yourself about who you are. The first practice in reading yourself is the cultivation of self-awareness through observation. You must learn to separate yourself, the conscious observer, from the chaotic noise of your own thoughts and emotions. Most people are completely fused with their internal state. If they feel angry, they are angry. If they have a fearful thought, they are their fear. The master of self-awareness learns to create a space. They learn to say, "I am the one who is observing a feeling of anger arising within me," or "I am noticing a pattern of fearful thoughts." This separation is the source of all self-control and all true wisdom. A simple but profound way to practice this is to start a daily journaling habit. At the end of each day, take 10 minutes to answer a few simple questions. When did I feel my strongest positive emotion today, and what triggered it? When did I feel my strongest negative emotion today, and what triggered it? Was there a time today when I reacted in a way that was out of proportion to the situation? This is not an exercise in judgment. It is an exercise in data collection. You are a scientist, and your own emotional and behavioral patterns are your subject of study. Over time, you will begin to see the scripts that are running your life. You will identify your triggers, the specific words, situations, or people that consistently provoke a strong emotional response in you. The 99% are puppets of their triggers. Someone says the right or wrong thing, and they react on cue every single time. The self-aware individual, by identifying their triggers, can begin to diffuse them. They can anticipate the reaction and consciously choose a different response. The second part of reading yourself is to understand your own core motivations. What is the hidden engine that is driving your behavior? Are you primarily driven by a need for security, a need for significance and approval, a need for connection, a need for growth. Be brutally honest with yourself. Most of our noble actions are often rooted in a much more primal, self-interested need. The person who works 80 hours a week may tell themselves they are doing it for their family, but the deeper motivation might be a desperate need to feel important and successful. There is no right or wrong motivation, but until you are aware of your own, you will be blind to it in others. The person who is driven by a need for significance will be an open book to you, once you understand that every action they take is designed to feed that need. The third and final part of reading yourself is to identify your biases. Your brain is a shortcut machine. It uses mental heuristics and biases to make sense of a complex world quickly. But these shortcuts often lead to profound errors in judgment. Do you have a confirmation bias, where you only seek out information that confirms your existing beliefs? Do you have a halo effect, where you let one positive trait of a person, like their attractiveness, color your judgment of their entire character? You must become a student of cognitive biases and actively hunt for them in your own thinking. The 99% walk through the world convinced that they are rational beings, completely unaware of the invisible lenses that are coloring their perception. The winner knows they are biased, and that awareness is the only antidote. This is the unsexy, foundational work that must be done. It is a lifelong practice. Every day, you must turn a portion of your analytical power inward. The more you understand your own book, the more you will realize that all of humanity is working from a very similar text. Your own fears, your own desires, your own insecurities, they are a Rosetta Stone for decoding the entire human race. Stop trying to read others. Start with the first and most important text you will ever own, yourself. Master this, and you will have already left 99% of people far, far behind. Chapter 2: The Art of Silent Observation. Now that you have begun the lifelong journey of reading yourself, it is time to turn your attention outward. But this is a critical and delicate stage, and it is where the amateur immediately goes wrong. The amateur, armed with a few superficial tricks they've learned, tries to analyze people. They rush to judgment. They see one small gesture and they leap to a grand conclusion. They are not observing, they are projecting their newfound and often incorrect knowledge onto the world. They are trying to show how smart they are. The master of human psychology does the exact opposite. They understand that before you can interpret, you must first see. And to truly see, you must learn the art of silent, non-judgmental observation. This is the second foundational skill. You must transform yourself from an active, noisy participant in the world into a quiet, almost invisible anthropologist. Your mission is to gather data, not to form opinions. The 99% of people are terrible observers because they are trapped in their own heads. When they are in a conversation, they are not truly listening to the other person. They are rehearsing their next sentence. They are thinking about how the other person's words affect them. Their internal monologue is so loud that it drowns out 90% of the information that is being transmitted. They are hearing, but they are not listening. They are looking, but they are not seeing. The first practice in silent observation is to learn to shut down your own internal monologue. When you are with another person, your primary goal is not to talk, not to impress, not to formulate a response. Your primary goal is to receive information. You must cultivate a state of intense, curious presence. A powerful way to do this is to focus on the details. Instead of thinking about what to say next, focus on the specific shade of the other person's eyes. Notice the cadence and the rhythm of their speech. Pay attention to the way they use their hands when they talk. By focusing on these concrete sensory details, you are anchoring your attention in the present moment and quieting the noise of your own mind. This is a form of active mindfulness. The second practice is to observe the baseline. Before you can ever hope to spot a deviation that might signify something important, you must first understand what is normal for a particular person in a particular context. The 99% make the mistake of having a fixed dictionary of meaning. They think, crossed arms means defensive. This is the logic of a child. The master knows that meaning is context dependent. A person might be crossing their arms because they are cold, because it's a comfortable habit, or because they are, in fact, feeling defensive. The only way to know is to first observe their baseline. How do they normally stand? How do they normally speak? When you are in a meeting, spend the first 10 minutes just observing. Who talks the most? Who is silent? How do people physically orient themselves toward the person in power? You are not judging. You are just gathering data on the normal patterns of behavior. It is only after you have established this baseline that you can begin to notice the significant deviations. When the normally talkative person suddenly becomes quiet, that is a piece of data. When the normally calm person starts fidgeting, that is a piece of data. The deviation from the baseline is where the interesting information lies. The third practice is to observe the environment. People are not isolated units. They are deeply influenced by their surroundings. The 99% only observe the person. The master observes the entire ecosystem. How has a person chosen to arrange their office? Is it neat and minimalist, or is it cluttered and chaotic? This tells you something about their mind. What books are on their shelves? What art is on their walls? These are all deliberate choices that reveal their values and their identity. When you meet someone for the first time, don't just focus on them. Scan their environment for clues. You are a detective, and the world is full of evidence for those who have trained their eyes to see it. This process of silent observation must be done with a sense of genuine, almost childlike curiosity. You are not trying to catch people or to find their flaws. You are simply fascinated by the complexity of human beings. This curious, non-judgmental energy is something that people can feel. When you are truly, silently, and curiously observing someone, they will often unconsciously open up more to you. They feel seen and heard on a level that is rare and magnetic. In contrast, the amateur analyst gives off an energy of judgment, which causes people to immediately become guarded and defensive. So, for the next week, I want you to make this your primary practice. In every interaction you have, consciously shift your ratio of talking to listening. Try to listen 80% of the time and talk only 20%. And when you are listening, you are not just hearing the words, you are observing, you are noticing, you are gathering data, you are establishing baselines, you are becoming an anthropologist of your own daily life. Resist the urge to interpret. Resist the urge to form a conclusion. Your only job is to collect the raw, unadulterated data. In the next chapters, we will begin to assemble this data into a coherent picture. But first, you must master the art of simply seeing what is right in front of you. You must become a master of the obvious. It is a skill that is so simple that almost no one ever develops it. Chapter 3: The Unspoken Language, Decoding Body Cues. You have begun to read yourself. You have trained yourself to be a silent, curious observer. You are now gathering raw data about the people around you. It is time to learn the language in which most of that data is written. It is a language that is spoken by everyone, but understood by almost no one. It is the unspoken language of the body. The 99% of people are almost completely illiterate in this language. They focus all of their attention on the words that people say, oblivious to the fact that the vast majority of human communication, some experts say up to 93%, is nonverbal. They are listening to the lyrics of the song while completely missing the music. The music, the tone, the rhythm, the emotion, is where the real meaning lies. And the body is the primary instrument of that music. The winner, the master of human psychology, understands a fundamental truth. The body cannot lie as well as the mouth can. The conscious, rational part of our brain, the neocortex, controls our words, but our primal emotional brain, the limbic system, controls our body language. When there is a conflict between what a person is saying and what their body is doing, the body is almost always telling the truth. Your mission is to learn to listen to this truth. But first, we must destroy a myth. The 99% who have a superficial interest in this topic are looking for a simple lie detector dictionary. If they touch their nose, they are lying. If they cross their arms, they are closed off. This is childish and dangerous. A single gesture means nothing in isolation. The art of reading body language is not about identifying single tells. It is about recognizing clusters of cues and understanding them within a specific context. It is about pattern recognition, not a simple translation. Let's break down the key channels of this language. The first and most honest channel is often the feet and legs. The lower half of our body is the furthest from our conscious brain, and therefore the least controlled. It is the first to react to a threat and the last to be brought in line with a conscious deception. The direction a person's feet are pointing is often the direction their mind wants to go. If you are in a conversation with someone and their feet are pointed toward you, they are engaged. If their feet are pointed toward the door, they are subconsciously looking for an escape, no matter how polite their words are. A sudden bouncing or jiggling of a leg can be a sign of anxiety or impatience being released. The second channel is the torso and arms. An open and expansive posture, shoulders back, chest open, arms uncrossed, is a universal sign of confidence and comfort. It is a gesture of taking up space. A closed and contracted posture, shoulders slumped, arms crossed over the chest, is often a sign of defensiveness, insecurity, or discomfort. It is an attempt to make oneself smaller and to create a protective barrier. But remember the rule of context. A person might cross their arms because they are cold. You must look for clusters. Are their arms crossed, and are they leaning away, and are their lips pursed? Now you have a cluster of cues that point strongly toward a negative emotional state. The third channel is the hands. The hands are incredibly expressive. When a person is open and honest, they will tend to show their palms. When a person is hiding something, they will often subconsciously hide their hands in their pockets, behind their back, or under a table. Watch for pacifying gestures. These are the repetitive, self-soothing movements people make when they are stressed or uncomfortable, like rubbing their hands together, touching their neck, or fiddling with a piece of jewelry. These are tells, not of deception, but of anxiety. The fourth channel is the face. The face is the most controlled and therefore the most deceptive part of the body. However, it can leak information through what are known as microexpressions. These are fleeting, involuntary expressions that flash across the face in a fraction of a second and reveal a person's true, underlying emotion. They are very difficult to spot without training, but you can learn to look for incongruence between a person's words and their overall facial expression. Are they telling you good news with a smile that doesn't reach their eyes? That is a piece of data. Eye contact is another critical cue. Strong, steady eye contact signals confidence and sincerity. A lack of eye contact can signal insecurity, shame, or deception. But again, context is king. A shy person may naturally avoid eye contact. The key is to look for a change from their baseline. If a normally confident person suddenly cannot meet your gaze when you ask a specific question, that is a powerful signal. Your job is not to become a human lie detector. Your job is to become a discomfort detector. Your job is to notice when there is a mismatch, an incongruence between a person's words and their body's music. When a person says, "Yes, I'm completely on board with that plan," but as they say it, they cross their arms, lean back, and their feet point toward the door, you have just received a valuable piece of information. Their words are saying yes, but their body is screaming no. The 99% would hear the yes and move on. The winner sees the cluster of no and knows that there is more to this story. They might then ask a follow-up question. I get the sense you might still have some reservations. What part of the plan are you most concerned about? This is how you use the unspoken language, not to accuse, but to uncover the truth and build a deeper level of understanding. For the next week, your mission is to become body conscious. In every interaction, pay specific attention to one of these channels. On Monday, just observe people's feet. On Tuesday, watch their hands. You are not trying to interpret. You are just trying to see. You are building your visual vocabulary in the most honest language on earth. Chapter 4: Listening Between the Lines, the Power of Verbal Cues. You are now observing the unspoken music of the body. but we cannot ignore the lyrics, the words people choose to use, and just as importantly, the words they choose not to use, are a rich and fertile ground for a deeper understanding of their true thoughts and intentions. The 99% of people are superficial listeners. They listen for the surface-level meaning of the words. They are passive receivers of information. They are waiting for their turn to talk. The winner, the master of human psychology, is a deep listener. They understand that the way a person speaks is often more revealing than what they actually say. They are not just listening to the message. They are analyzing the messenger. They are listening between the lines. The first and most powerful verbal cue to master is the analysis of pronouns. The pronouns a person uses can reveal their level of ownership, their sense of team affiliation, and their emotional distance from a topic. When a project is going well, a team member might say, "We are on track to hit our targets." The use of "we" signals a sense of shared responsibility and success. If that same project runs into trouble, that same person might say, "They need to get their part of the project done." The sudden shift from "we" to "they" is a powerful indicator that the person is distancing themselves from the failure and shifting blame. Listen for the use of "I" versus "we" in a leader. A great leader will use "we" when celebrating a success, and "I" when taking responsibility for a failure. "I made the decision that led to this setback." A poor leader will do the exact opposite. The second verbal cue is the presence of qualifiers and vague language. A person who is confident and certain in what they are saying will speak in direct, declarative sentences. A person who is uncertain, insecure, or potentially deceptive will often litter their speech with qualifiers. Words like "kind of," "sort of," "I guess," "probably," and "basically" are all softeners. They weaken the statement and create plausible deniability. When you ask a direct question, "Did you finish the report?" and the answer is not a direct yes or no, but something like, "Well, I basically got most of it done. I just need to sort of finalize a few things." You have just received a signal of incompleteness or insecurity. The 99% would hear "it's almost done." The winner hears the qualifiers and knows that the real answer is no. The third cue is the change in vocal tone and cadence. The baseline principle is critical here. You must first have a sense of a person's normal way of speaking. Once you have that, you can listen for the shifts. When you touch on a sensitive topic, does their vocal pitch suddenly go up? This can be a sign of stress or anxiety. Do they start speaking much faster or much slower? A rapid acceleration can signal excitement or nervousness. A sudden, slow, deliberate pace can be an attempt to carefully control their words, a potential sign of deception. You are listening for the emotional music behind the words. Is the tone congruent with the content? If someone is telling you they are really excited about a project, but their voice is flat, monotone, and low in energy, their words and their music are out of sync. Your ears must learn to detect this dissonance. The fourth cue is the use of unsolicited specific details. When a person is telling the truth, their memory is a holistic experience. They recall the gist of what happened. When a person is constructing a lie, They often feel the need to make it believable by adding an excessive amount of specific and often irrelevant detail. If you ask your employee why they were late and they say, "I got stuck in traffic," that is a normal response. If they say, "I was on the main highway and there was a blue Toyota Camry that had a flat tire in the right-hand lane, and it caused a huge backup all the way to the overpass," that is an unusual amount of detail. It might be true, but it is also a classic pattern of a person who has rehearsed a story and is trying too hard to sell it. The fifth and final cue is the non-answer. This is a favorite tactic of politicians and people in difficult situations. You ask a direct question and they answer a different question. You ask, "Did you meet the sales target last quarter?" And they respond, "Last quarter was a really challenging time for the whole team, but we worked incredibly hard and we learned a lot." Notice that they never actually answered the question. They deflected. The 99% will be satisfied with this response because it sounds plausible. The winner will notice the deflection and will calmly and politely ask the question again. "I appreciate that. Just to be clear, did you meet the sales target?" The practice of deep listening requires immense focus. You cannot be rehearsing your response in your head. You must be fully present, analyzing the word choices, the sentence structure, the tone, and the packing. You are a code breaker, and every conversation is a new piece of encrypted text. Your mission is to decipher it. For the next week, in every conversation, I want you to focus on one of these cues. On Monday, just listen for pronouns. On Tuesday, listen for qualifiers. You are not trying to be a prosecutor. You are a student of language. You are learning to hear the conversation that is happening underneath the conversation. When you can master this, you will have moved from listening in black and white to listening in full, vibrant color. Chapter 5: The Hidden Engine, Uncovering Core Motivations. You are now a sophisticated observer. You are gathering data from the body and from the words. You are seeing the what. You are seeing the incongruence, the discomfort, the subtle signals that lie beneath the surface. Now it is time to ask the most important question of all. It is the question that moves you from being a mere observer to being a true master of human psychology. That question is, why? Why is this person behaving this way? What is the hidden engine that is driving their actions? The 99% of people are reactive. They respond to a person's surface-level behavior. If someone is angry, they react to the anger. If someone is arrogant, they react to the arrogance. They are playing a checkers game against their opponent's visible moves. The winner is playing a three-dimensional chess game. They are not just looking at the move. They are trying to understand the entire strategy, the deep, underlying motivation that is compelling the move. They know that all human behavior, no matter how irrational it may seem on the surface, is a purposeful attempt to meet a fundamental human need. If you can understand the need, you can understand the person. While human psychology is infinitely complex, most of our behavior is driven by a small handful of core motivations. If you can learn to see the world through the lens of these motivations, you will have a powerful key for decoding almost anyone you meet. The first core motivation is the need for survival and security. This is our most primal driver. It is the need for physical safety, for financial security, for stability and predictability. A person who is primarily operating from this need will be highly risk-averse. Their decisions will be guided by a fear of loss. They will be more motivated by the fear of losing their job than by the potential of a promotion. When you are interacting with someone driven by security, you must speak their language. You must frame your proposals in terms of reducing risk, providing stability, and offering guarantees. The second core motivation is the need for significance and status. This is the deep-seated human desire to feel important, to be respected, to be seen as special and unique. A person driven by this need will be highly competitive. They will be drawn to brand names, job titles, and other symbols of status. Their greatest fear is being ignored, being seen as ordinary or insignificant. When you are dealing with a person driven by significance, you must learn to feed this need ethically, of course. Acknowledge their expertise. Praise their accomplishments genuinely. Show them respect. Making them feel important is the fastest way to gain their trust and influence. The third core motivation is the need for connection and love. This is the need to belong, to be a part of a tribe, to feel loved and accepted. A person driven by this need will be highly social and empathetic. They will make decisions based on how it will affect their relationships. Their greatest fear is rejection or being ostracized. When interacting with someone driven by connection, you must emphasize teamwork, shared values, and the relational benefits of your ideas. Building personal rapport with them is not a nicety. It is a necessity. The fourth core motivation is the need for growth and contribution. This is a higher-level need, the desire to learn, to grow, to reach one's full potential, and to make a difference in the world. A person driven by this need is a lifelong learner. They are motivated by challenges and by a sense of purpose. Their greatest fear is stagnation. When you are dealing with someone driven by growth, you must appeal to their desire for mastery and impact. Frame your proposals as an opportunity for them to learn a new skill, to take on a new challenge, or to contribute to a cause that is bigger than themselves. Every person you meet is a unique cocktail of these motivations, but most people will have one or two that are their primary drivers. Your job as a student of human psychology is to become a detective of these hidden engines. In a conversation, listen for the values they express. What do they talk about with the most energy and passion? Do they talk about their investments and their safety, security? Do they talk about their awards and their promotions' significance? Do they talk about their friends and their family connection? Do they talk about the book they just read or the new skill they are learning, growth? Their language will give you the clues. Look at their actions. How do they spend their free time and their money? These are powerful indicators of their true priorities. The person who spends their money on security systems and insurance is driven by a different need than the person who spends it on luxury cars and designer clothes. Once you have a hypothesis about a person's core motivation, you can test it. Frame a suggestion in their motivational language and see how they respond. If you suspect your boss is driven by significance, instead of saying, "This idea will save the company money," you might say, "This is an idea that, if we implement it, will make our department look incredibly innovative and will get you a lot of positive attention from the executive team." Watch their reaction. Do their eyes light up? Do they lean in? If so, you have found their engine. The 99% try to motivate others based on their own motivations. They try to sell a security-driven person on a risky, high-growth opportunity. It will never work. The winner learns to speak the language of the other person's soul. They understand that to influence someone, you must first understand what already influences them. This is the deepest level of reading people. It is moving beyond the what of their behavior to the profound and powerful why. Chapter 6. The Congruence Test, Detecting Deception and Inauthenticity. We now arrive at the topic that most people are most fascinated by when they seek to read others. It is the art of detecting deception. The 99% of people are looking for a magical tell, a single, reliable sign like Pinocchio's nose that will expose a liar. They want a simple trick. This is a dangerous and naive fantasy. There is no single, 100% reliable indicator of deception. The master of human psychology is not a human lie detector. They are a master of what I call the congruence test. Congruence is the harmony between a person's words, their body language, and their emotional tone. When all three of these channels are telling the same story, the person is likely being authentic and truthful. When one or more of these channels is out of sync with the others, you have detected incongruence. And incongruence is a massive red flag. It is a signal that there is a conflict between the person's conscious, verbal message and their subconscious, emotional reality. This incongruence does not automatically mean the person is lying. It simply means there is a hot spot. It is a sign of stress, of discomfort, of internal conflict. It is a signal to you, the observer, to become more curious, to dig deeper, and to not take the surface-level message at face value. A lie is a specific form of incongruence, but not all incongruence is a lie. The first step in conducting the congruence test is to have a solid baseline of the person's normal behavior. As we've discussed, you cannot spot an anomaly if you do not know what is normal. What is their normal way of speaking? Their normal posture? Their normal level of eye contact? Without a baseline, you are just guessing. Once you have a baseline, you begin to look for clusters of incongruent signals when a specific topic is introduced or a specific question is asked. Let's say you ask a colleague, "Did you manage to get that report finished by the deadline?" And they respond, "Yes, absolutely, all done." That is their verbal channel. But as they say it, you observe a cluster of nonverbal cues. They break eye contact for the first time in the conversation. They take a slight step backward, and they use their hand to briefly touch their neck. This is a cluster of incongruent signals. Their body language is communicating stress and avoidance, while their words are communicating certainty. This is a failed congruence test. The 99% would hear the words "all done" and move on. The winner sees the cluster of stress signals and knows that something is not right. This does not mean you should immediately accuse them of lying. The stress could be caused by many things. Maybe they finished it, but they know the quality is poor. Maybe they finished it, but they are stressed about your reaction to it. Your job is not to be a prosecutor. It is to be a detective. The incongruence is a clue that tells you where to investigate further. You might respond with a calm, curious follow-up question. Great. I'd love to see it. Can you send it over to me now? The reaction to this follow-up will give you even more data. Do they suddenly become flustered and make excuses? Or do they confidently send it over? Another powerful area to test for congruence is emotional expression. Does the emotion they are displaying match the context of the situation? A classic example is inappropriate timing of a smile. A person who is expressing sadness or remorse but has a fleeting, almost imperceptible smile, a phenomenon known as duping delight, is showing a massive incongruence between their stated emotion and their true, underlying feeling. Listen for verbal incongruence as well. Does the story make logical sense? Are there internal contradictions? One classic verbal sign of deception is the use of a non-contracted denial. If you ask, "Did you take the money?" and the person responds, "I did not take the money," instead of the more natural, "I didn't take the money," this formal, distancing language can be a red flag. They are subconsciously creating a verbal separation between themselves and the action. The key is to remain a calm, detached observer. The moment you become emotional or accusatory, you have lost your analytical edge. You are no longer gathering data. You are just participating in a conflict. When you detect incongruence, your goal is to stay curious and to gently probe for more information. Use open-ended questions. Tell me more about that. How did that make you feel? Walk me through that again. You are giving the person more rope, either to hang themselves with a more elaborate deception or to reveal the true source of their discomfort. The congruence test is not a magic trick. It is a disciplined, analytical process. It is about comparing the different channels of communication, words, body, and tone, against each other and against a known baseline. The 99% are single-channel listeners. They only hear the words. The winner is a multi-channel analyst, constantly scanning for harmony and dissonance. Master this, and you will move through the world with a new level of clarity, able to distinguish the authentic from the inauthentic, and to protect yourself from the hidden agendas that lie beneath the surface of everyday interaction. Chapter 7: The Social Matrix, Reading Group Dynamics. Up to this point, we have focused primarily on reading individuals in a one-on-one context. But the moment you put two or more people in a room, a new and complex layer of psychology emerges. Individuals do not act in a vacuum. They are nodes in a social network, and their behavior is powerfully influenced by the dynamics of the group. The 99% of people are blind to these dynamics. They walk into a meeting or a party, and they see a collection of individuals. They interact with each person as a separate entity, oblivious to the invisible currents of power, status, and affiliation that are flowing through the room. They are like a person trying to understand the ocean by looking at a single drop of water. The winner, the master of human psychology, sees the matrix. They see not just the individuals but the connections between them. They see the structure of the group. They understand that to truly understand an individual's behavior in a social setting, you must first understand their role and their position within the social ecosystem. The first and most important element to observe in any group is the power dynamic. Who is the true leader? This is often not the person with the official title. The 99% look at the org chart. The winner looks at the flow of attention. Who does everyone else in the room physically orient themselves towards, even when someone else is speaking? When a joke is told, who does everyone look to first to see their reaction? Who has the power to interrupt others without social consequence? This person is the true center of gravity in the room, the sun around which the other planets orbit. Understanding this is critical. If you want to persuade the group, you must first persuade the leader. The second element to observe is the social hierarchy. Every group, whether formal or informal, has a pecking order. You can discern this hierarchy by observing patterns of deference and dominance. Who gives way when two people approach a doorway? Who speaks first and who waits for permission? Who is comfortable taking up more physical space, and who makes themselves small? These are subtle but powerful indicators of status. You must also watch for microaggressions or subtle displays of disrespect, which are often used to enforce the hierarchy. The 99% are either oblivious to this or they get emotionally caught up in it. The winner observes it with detached clarity, understanding that it is simply a part of the human social game. The third element is to identify the alliances and the factions. Groups are rarely monolithic. They are often composed of smaller subgroups or cliques. You can identify these alliances by observing who sits with who supports whom in a discussion, and who shares private jokes or knowing glances. Understanding the tribal layout of the room is essential for navigating the social landscape. Are you speaking to a unified group, or are you speaking to two warring factions? Your strategy must adapt accordingly. The fourth element is to understand the group's social proof dynamic. Humans are herd animals. We are powerfully influenced by the behavior of the majority. In a group setting, most people are not thinking for themselves. They are looking to see what everyone else is doing. The winner understands this. If you want to get a group to adopt your idea, your first task is not to convince everyone. It is to convince a few key influencers. Once you have a critical mass of support, the powerful force of social proof will often bring the rest of the group along. They will conform to the perceived consensus. You must also be aware of the phenomenon of groupthink, where the desire for harmony and consensus within a group overrides the rational evaluation of alternatives. The 99% get swept up in the emotional current of the group, afraid to be the lone dissenting voice. The winner has the independence of mind to question the consensus. They are not afraid to be the one who asks, Are we all sure this is the right course of action? They understand that their value is often in their ability to see what the group, in its collective blindness, cannot. Reading group dynamics is a skill that requires you to zoom out. You must stop focusing on the individual trees and see the entire forest. When you walk into a new social environment, your first job is to be a silent anthropologist for a few minutes. Don't jump into a conversation. Stand back. Observe. Who is the leader? What is the hierarchy? Where are the alliances? What is the emotional temperature of the room? You are mapping the battlefield before you engage. The 99% just charge in blindly. This skill is a superpower in any organizational setting. It will allow you to navigate office politics, to build consensus for your ideas, and to become a person of immense influence, not because of your title, but because you understand the invisible architecture of human connection. Master the social matrix, and you will move from being a player in the game to being one of its architects. Chapter 8: The Master's Toolkit, Application and Ethical Influence. You are now a formidable reader of the human condition. You can read yourself, you can observe with clarity, and you can decode the verbal, nonverbal, and motivational signals of those around you. You have amassed a powerful set of analytical tools. But knowledge without application is a sterile and pointless thing. The purpose of learning to read people is not to become a passive, all-knowing sage. It is to become a more effective, influential, and successful actor in the drama of your own life. This is where we transition from analysis to application. This is the Master's Toolkit for Ethical Influence. Let me be clear. The knowledge you now possess is powerful. It can be used to build or to destroy. It can be used to manipulate and exploit, or it can be used to persuade, inspire, and create win-win outcomes. The 99% who dabble in these skills are often tempted by the dark side, using cheap tricks to get what they want in the short term. The winner, the true master, understands that the only sustainable path to success is the path of integrity. Ethical influence is not about tricking someone into doing something they don't want to do. It is the art of understanding their world so deeply that you can align your goals with their own, and help them see why your proposed course of action is in their best interest. It is a process of building bridges, not setting traps. The first tool in your kit is the principle of rapport. Rapport is the feeling of connection, of being in sync with another person. The 99% think rapport is about being friendly and finding common interests. The master knows it is a deeper, more subliminal process. It is about matching and mirroring. Subtly and authentically, you will begin to match the other person's body language, their rate of speech, and their vocal tone. If they are leaning forward, you lean forward. If they are speaking slowly, you slow down your pace. This is not mimicry. It is a way of saying on a deep, unconscious level, I am like you, we are on the same team. This creates a powerful sense of trust and connection. The second tool is the principle of reciprocity. Humans are hardwired to want to repay debts. When someone gives us something, we feel a deep psychological urge to give something back. The 99% are always asking, what can I get? The master of influence is always asking, "What can I give?" You will become a person of immense value. You will generously offer your help, your insights, your connections, with no immediate expectation of return. You are making deposits in the bank of reciprocity. When the time comes that you need to ask for something, people will be not just willing, but eager to help you. The third tool is the art of framing. The way you present an idea has a massive impact on how it is received. You must learn to frame your proposals not in terms of your own needs, but in the language of the other person's core motivations. As we discussed, if you are speaking to a person driven by significance, you will frame your idea in terms of how it will make them look good. If you are speaking to someone driven by security, you will frame it in terms of how it will reduce risk. You are not changing the idea. You are changing the lens through which they see it. You are translating it into their native language. The fourth tool is the power of curiosity and questions. The 99% believe that influence is about talking, about presenting a brilliant argument. The master knows that influence is about listening and asking the right questions. Instead of telling someone what to do, you will learn to guide them to their own conclusion through a series of thoughtful, open-ended questions. What do you see as the biggest obstacle here? What would a perfect outcome look like to you? What are the potential downsides of our current approach? By asking questions, you are not only gathering valuable information, you are also making the other person feel heard, respected, and involved in the solution. People are far more committed to an idea they believe they co-created. The fifth tool is the use of social proof. We have discussed this in the context of group dynamics. You must learn to leverage the power of the herd. Instead of just saying your product is good, you will say, "Over 1,000 businesses in your industry are already using our product to achieve these results." Instead of saying your idea is the right one, you will say, "I've spoken with Susan and John from the other departments, and they are both really excited about this direction." You are borrowing the credibility of others to strengthen your own position. These are not tricks. These are the tools of a master communicator. They are the practical application of your deep understanding of human psychology. Your mission is to practice them, one by one, in low-stakes situations. Practice mirroring someone's posture in a casual conversation. Practice giving a piece of valuable advice with no strings attached. Practice framing a request in terms of the other person's benefit. As you become more proficient with these tools, you will find your ability to move through the world, to build alliances, to persuade, and to lead will increase exponentially. You will no longer be a person who hopes for a good outcome. You will be the person who can architect it. Chapter 9: The Shield of Awareness. Protecting yourself from manipulation. You have learned to read the world. You have learned the tools of ethical influence. You are now in possession of a powerful skill set. But with this new power comes a new vulnerability. Because you are now so keenly aware of the mechanisms of human psychology, you will start to see them being used everywhere, and not always for good. You will see the manipulative tactics of a dishonest salesperson, the emotional games of a toxic colleague, and the subtle power plays of an insecure boss. The 99% of people are blissfully unaware of this. They are sheep, being herded by forces they do not understand. Your new knowledge is a gift, but it also comes with the responsibility to protect yourself. This chapter is about forging your shield of awareness. It is about turning your reader's eye inward and using your knowledge not just to influence, but to defend. The first and most important layer of your shield is your awareness of your own triggers. We have touched on this before, but it is the foundation of all self-defense. A manipulator's primary weapon is your own unexamined emotions. They know that if they can trigger your fear, your greed, your guilt, or your need for approval, they can bypass your rational mind and control your behavior. You must know your own emotional weak spots better than they do. What are you most afraid of? What praise do you most desperately crave? What makes you feel guilty? By knowing your triggers, you can feel the emotional response starting, and instead of reacting to it, you can pause, take a breath, and say, this is a manipulation attempt. They are trying to trigger my fear of missing out. This awareness is the circuit breaker that stops the manipulation in its tracks. The second layer of your shield is your understanding of common manipulative tactics. You must become a student of the dark arts, not to practice them, but to recognize them. Learn to spot tactics like love bombing, where a person showers you with excessive affection and praise at the beginning of a relationship to get you hooked. Learn to recognize gaslighting, where a person deliberately tries to make you doubt your own sanity and perception of reality. Be aware of the foot-in-the-door technique, where someone makes a small, easy request, only to follow it up with a much larger one. By knowing the names of these tactics, you can spot them as they happen, which strips them of their power. The manipulator relies on their victim's ignorance. Your knowledge is your armor. The third layer of your shield is the establishment of strong personal boundaries. The 99% have weak or non-existent boundaries. They are afraid to say no. They are afraid of disappointing others. This makes them a prime target for manipulators and emotional vampires who will happily drain all of their time, energy, and resources. You must decide in advance what you will and will not tolerate. What are your non-negotiables? How much of your time are you willing to give? You must learn to communicate these boundaries calmly, clearly, and firmly without guilt or apology. A simple, "I'm not able to do that," or "that doesn't work for me," is a complete sentence. You do not need to justify or explain your boundaries. The way a person responds to your boundary is a powerful diagnostic tool. A healthy, respectful person will accept it. A manipulator will try to push it, to question it, or to make you feel guilty for having it. This is valuable information. The fourth layer is your detachment from the need for approval, which we have already discussed. As long as you are desperate for someone's approval, they have power over you. They can grant it or withhold it to control your behavior. When you become your own source of validation, you take that power back. You are no longer a puppet on their strings. The final and most powerful layer of your shield is your willingness to walk away. In any interaction, The person with the most power is the one who is most willing to walk away from the deal. The 99% are often trapped by a scarcity mindset. They believe this is the only job, the only relationship, the only opportunity. This desperation makes them vulnerable. The winner cultivates an abundance mindset. They know that there are always other options. They are not afraid to walk away from a bad deal, a toxic relationship, or a manipulative boss. This willingness to walk away is your ultimate trump card. It is the one thing a manipulator cannot control. This shield of awareness is not about becoming a paranoid, cynical person who mistrusts everyone. It is about becoming a wise, discerning person who is capable of navigating a complex world with strength and integrity. It is about having the clarity to see the game that is being played and the power to choose not to be a pawn in it. The 99% are sheep, and the world is full of wolves. You are not a sheep. You are not a wolf. You are the shepherd, calm, aware, and in control, capable of protecting your flock and guiding them to safety. This is the defensive power of reading people. Chapter 10: The Unconscious Reader, Achieving Social Mastery. We have come to the end of your formal training, but we are at the beginning of your lifelong practice. We have journeyed from the internal world of self-awareness to the external world of observation, from the spoken to the unspoken language, from the what of behavior to the why of motivation, and from the application of influence to the defense against manipulation. You now possess the complete toolkit of a master of human psychology. But there is one final, ultimate stage in this evolution. It is the stage where the conscious effort disappears. It is the stage where you are no longer practicing reading people. You are simply doing it. It is the stage where the skill becomes so deeply ingrained, so much a part of you, that it becomes unconscious and automatic. This is the level of social mastery. Think about learning to drive a car. In the beginning, it is a clumsy and overwhelming process of conscious effort. You have to think about your hands on the wheel, your foot on the pedal, the mirrors, the road signs. Every action is a deliberate, clunky thought. This is where you are now with the skills of reading people. You are consciously thinking, what are their feet doing? What pronouns are they using? What is their core motivation? This is a necessary and important stage. This is the stage of deliberate practice. The 99% of people who try to learn this skill never get past this stage. It feels like too much work and they give up. But the winner, the person who persists, who puts in the thousands of reps of observing, analyzing, and interacting, will eventually reach a point where a profound shift occurs. The conscious effort begins to fade. The skills become integrated. They move from your thinking mind to your intuitive mind. You no longer have to consciously look for the cluster of body language cues that signals discomfort. You just feel it. You no longer have to analyze the person's word choice to detect incongruence. You just get a gut feeling that something is off. This is not a mystical or psychic ability. This is what mastery looks like. It is the result of a skill being practiced so relentlessly that it has become an instinct. It is the unconscious competence of the master musician who is no longer thinking about the notes, but is simply playing the music. The unconscious reader moves through the world with a new level of social grace and effectiveness that seems almost magical to the outside observer. They walk into a room and they don't just see people. They instantly grasp the emotional temperature, the power dynamics, the hidden currents of the social matrix. It is not an analytical process. It is an instantaneous download of information. In a conversation, they are not running a checklist in their head. They are fully present, their entire being engaged in the act of understanding the other person on a deep, holistic level. They are building rapport, influencing and persuading not with a set of memorized techniques, but with an authentic, intuitive dance of human connection. This is the ultimate goal, but it cannot be rushed. It is the reward that comes only after years of dedicated, conscious practice. It is the prize that is waiting for you on the other side of the mountain of deliberate effort. Your journey from this point forward is about putting in the reps. It is about embracing the clumsiness of the conscious competence stage. It is about being a dedicated student of every single human interaction you have. Every conversation is a practice session. Every meeting is a lab. Every party is a field study. You must become obsessed with the process. You must fall in love with the game of understanding people. The 99% want the result without the work. They want the intuition without the thousands of hours of observation. It is a fantasy. The path to unconscious mastery is paved with the bricks of conscious, deliberate effort. Your identity must now fully shift. You are not a person who is learning to read people. You are a reader of people. It is who you are. It is the lens through which you see the world. As you continue on this path, you will find that your new skill does not make you cynical or judgmental. On the contrary, it will make you more empathetic, more compassionate, and more connected to the human experience. When you can see the fear behind a person's anger or the insecurity behind their arrogance, it is harder to judge them. You begin to see the common threads of the human condition that connect us all. This is the final and most beautiful reward of this skill. It does not just give you power in the world. It gives you a deeper understanding and appreciation of it. You now have the map. The entire territory lies before you, waiting to be explored. The journey to unconscious mastery is a long one, but it is the most rewarding journey you will ever take. The time for reading this book is over. The time for reading the world has begun. The closing. The final chapter has been written, but the story is far from over. Your story is just beginning. You started this journey as a character in a play you did not understand, speaking a language you could not comprehend. You now hold the script. You are no longer just an actor. You are the director. You have been given the blueprint to decode the most complex and powerful force on this planet, human nature. You have learned that this is not a magical gift, but a learnable skill, a system of observation and analysis that can be honed through practice. You have learned to read the most important book of all, yourself. You have learned to listen to the unspoken music of the body and the hidden meanings between the lines of the words. You have learned to see the why behind the what, the hidden engine of motivation that drives us all. And you have learned to use this knowledge not just to understand, but to influence, to connect, and to protect. This knowledge is now a part of you, but it is still a fragile thing. It is a seed. For it to grow into a mighty tree of unconscious mastery, it must be watered daily with the discipline of your attention and your practice. Most people will listen to this. They will feel a temporary sense of enlightenment, and then they will go back to being blind. They will revert to their old habit of superficial listening and reactive behavior. The comfort of their old ignorance will be more appealing than the challenge of their new awareness. You are not most people. You have come this far because you are a seeker of truth, an architect of your own life. You are ready to step out into the world with new eyes. Your journey now is to apply what you have learned. See every interaction as an opportunity to practice. Be a curious, compassionate, and detached observer of the human drama that unfolds around you every day. Do not seek to judge or to label. Seek only to understand. As you do this, you will find your world transforming. The fog of social confusion will lift, replaced by a new and profound clarity. You will navigate your career and your relationships with a new sense of confidence and effectiveness. You will no longer be a victim of other people's hidden agendas. You will be the calm, centered master of your own social world. This is the ultimate freedom. It is the freedom that comes from understanding. It is the power that comes from clarity. The book is now closed, but the library of humanity is open, its doors unlocked for you for the first time. Go and read.